Have you ever stopped mid-bite, looked down at your burger and thought, wait a second, this is beef. There's no ham anywhere in here. So why on earth do we call it a hamburger? It sounds like one of those food mysteries we just accepted as kids and never questioned again. Like why pineapple doesn't taste like apples. Or why French fries aren't from France. The word hamburger feels so obvious that we rarely break it apart. But once you do, it sounds completely misleading. Today, we're diving into where the word hamburger actually came from, how it traveled across continents, how it lost its original meaning, and why we're all technically saying it wrong, but also completely right at the same time. Right here, on History of Simple Things. The word hamburger has nothing to do with ham. It comes from a place, specifically from the city of Hamburg in northern Germany. In German, adding to a city name basically means from that place. So a hamburger originally meant someone from Hamburg. Just like someone from Berlin is a Berliner, someone from Vienna is a Viennese, and someone from Hamburg is a hamburger. In the 18th and 19th centuries, Hamburg was a major port city. Sailors and immigrants traveled constantly between Europe and America, bringing food traditions with them. One of the dishes associated with Hamburg was something called the Hamburg steak. This wasn't a sandwich. It was minced or finely chopped beef, seasoned, shaped into a patty, and usually served raw or lightly cooked, sometimes even smoked. It was practical, easy to prepare, and made from tougher cuts of beef that were finely ground to make them tender. So originally, Hamburg steak simply meant beef prepared in the style of Hamburg. No ham involved. In the 1800s, large numbers of German immigrants moved to the United States. Many passed through ports like New York City, bringing their culinary traditions with them. Restaurants in America began serving Hamburg-style steak or Hamburg steak on their menus. By the late 19th century, it was a recognizable dish in cities across the country. Now here's where things get interesting. At some point, historians still debate the exact origin. Someone had the idea to put that beef patty between two slices of bread. There are multiple claims. Some say it happened at county fairs in the Midwest. Others credit small-town diners. But by the early 1900s, the sandwich version was spreading fast. And once the patty was served in bread, it became incredibly portable, affordable, and convenient. It wasn't just a plate of chopped beef anymore, it was a handheld meal. Eventually, the name shortened. Instead of Hamburg steak sandwich, people just started calling it a hamburger. Still referring to Hamburg, still no ham. Here's the funny part. Over time, English speakers started unconsciously breaking the word apart. Hamburger looked like ham plus burger. But that wasn't the original meaning at all. The ham part was never meant to describe pork. It was just the first half of Hamburg. However, language evolves based on how people interpret it, not just its original meaning. Once Americans started hearing burger as its own thing, it became a suffix. That's why we now have cheeseburgers, veggie burgers, turkey burgers, and even plant-based burgers. The word burger was carved out of hamburger through a process linguists call backformation. Basically, people assumed burger was the core word and built new foods around it. Ironically, the misunderstanding gave birth to an entire category of food. The hamburger really exploded in popularity in the 20th century, especially with the rise of fast food chains. In 1921, White Castle opened in Kansas, focusing almost entirely on small, square hamburgers. They marketed them as clean, affordable, and consistent, important at a time when ground beef had a questionable reputation. Later in 1940, McDonald's was founded in California and the hamburger became even more streamlined, standardized, and mass-produced. By the time global chains spread across the world, the hamburger was no longer just a German-inspired beef patty. It was an American cultural symbol. But even as it became iconic, the name stayed the same. No one rebranded it to beef burger in the United States, even though that term is common in places like the UK. The original geographic reference had already stuck. At this point, you might wonder, if we know it doesn't contain ham, why don't we just fix the word? Because language doesn't really work that way. Words stick based on habit, culture, and popularity, not logic. The meaning of hamburger has shifted from a person from Hamburg to beef prepared in the Hamburg style to a ground beef patty sandwich. Today, if you say hamburger, nobody thinks of Germany first. They think of a bun, lettuce, tomato, and maybe melted cheese. The word evolved along with the food, and once burger became its own standalone word, it unlocked endless variations. Now we even call chicken sandwiches chicken burgers in some countries, even though there's no beef involved at all. The original geography is almost completely forgotten in everyday use. Here's the ironic twist. Ham actually does exist in burgers sometimes now. Some recipes mix pork and beef. Some specialty burgers include bacon or ham slices, but that's a modern addition, not the origin. The name hamburger was never about the meat. It was about the method and the place. And if we're being precise, the most historically accurate name would probably be Hamburg-style beef sandwich. But that doesn't exactly roll off the tongue. So the next time someone jokingly asks, "Why is it called a hamburger if there's no ham?" you'll know the answer. It's not a mistake. It's not false advertising. And it's definitely not a centuries-old prank. It's just a word that traveled from Hamburg to America, transformed through immigration, adapted through language, and eventually became one of the most recognizable foods on the planet. The ham isn't about ham. It's about history. And honestly, that might make your next bite a little more interesting, because sometimes the story behind the name is just as satisfying as the food itself. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.